A teenage boy in a small Indian town sells SIM cards from his family's shop. 10 years later, investors value his hotel startup in the billions and call him one of India's youngest self-made billionaires. Ritesh Agarwal was born in 1993 in Bisamkadak, a small town in Odisha, India, where his family ran a modest neighborhood shop and every rupee of inventory mattered. There were no business dynasties or political connections waiting for him. Just the daily reality of stocking shelves, serving customers, and watching how hard his parents worked for slim margins. But before we begin, let me quickly introduce you to 86,400 stories. My name is Mayo, and we are building the world's best short-form documentary channel for people who build something from nothing. These stories are researched, condensed, and crafted to respect your time, all under 20 minutes. Now, to the story of Ritesh Agarwal. As a teenager, he moved to Delhi for studies, but most of his learning happened outside the classroom. He sold SIM cards, lived in shared rooms, and traveled on the cheapest buses and trains, staying in low-end guest houses that were everywhere and trustworthy nowhere. The pattern burned in. India had millions of budget rooms, but very few budget brands. His first serious attempt to fix this was Auroville Stays, a listing site for affordable accommodation. It aggregated rooms but didn't control the experience. Photos could lie, standards varied wildly, and every bad stay hurt the platform's credibility. Ritesh realized that a pure marketplace model wouldn't solve what he had lived through on those trips. In 2013, he dropped out, took a Thiel Fellowship, and relaunched as OYO Rooms, with one big shift. OYO would standardize budget hotels instead of just listing them. Clean sheets, Wi-Fi, basic amenities, front desk training, and software would all come under a single red logo. Whether the building had 10 rooms or 100, the early years were a grind. Many owners didn't want a teenager telling them how to run their property. Some partners left when OYO pushed for upgrades, or refused to pay for rooms that failed surprise audits. Internally, teams chased quality issues across thousands of properties. Every negative review triggered late-night calls, refunds, and uncomfortable conversations with investors. SoftBank's entry changed the scale and the pressure. Between 2015 and 2019, SoftBank invested over $1.5 billion into OYO, helping it expand to more than 80 countries and over 1.2 million rooms at its height. By 2019, OYO's peak valuation was widely reported at around $10 billion, putting a founder still in his 20s at the head of one of the world's largest hotel networks by room count. That speed came at a cost. OYO's breakneck expansion, encouraged and financed by SoftBank, led to operational missteps and soured partnerships. As travel slumped, the company laid off or furloughed thousands of employees, cutting its workforce by roughly 2/3, down to about 10,000 people globally from a much higher peak. In China alone, headcount dropped from over 6,000 employees to around 1,200 as OYO pulled back to survive. By 2024, SoftBank internally marked OYO down to around $2.7 to $3 billion, far below its $10 billion peak, and external funding rounds implied valuations in the $2.5 to $3 billion range. For Ritesh, that meant watching his paper wealth fluctuate by billions, while still having to run a company that needed to pay salaries, partners, and lenders every month. Yet even after that come down, the underlying machine was still large. Thousands of employees, hundreds of thousands of rooms, and a brand recognized across India and multiple regions abroad. OYO remained one of the largest startups in SoftBank's portfolio and a major player in budget hospitality. Just with less hype and more focus on disciplined operations than in its loudest years. Ritesh Agarwal went from a shopkeeper's son selling SIM cards to leading a company that, at its peak, managed over 1 million rooms across 80 countries and was valued at around $10 billion. His journey is not just a rags to riches story, it is a live case study in what happens when a small town founder pulls billions of dollars of capital into a messy, fragmented industry and then has to deal with what that scale really feels like on the inside. If this story meant something to you, if it gave you even a small piece of what you needed today, subscribe to 86,400 stories. New documentaries 3 times per week, all under 20 minutes. Tell me in the comments, what part of this story hit hardest for you? I read every single one. And remember, possibility has no postcode. Anything is possible.